did Soon TM come from? I thought that Soon TM was a Twitch thing.
That's a Blizzard thing.
No way. So we just stole
Blizzard. Yeah, well, I mean, Twitch is the new 4chan, right? So, like, all memes belong to Twitch. But that's definitely from Blizzard.
We were definitely meme city. 111 viewers resubscribed while I was away. Yes, I've been away for a while. But I'm back with a legend of commentary. Someone who was one of the OG inspirations for my commentary. So, Artosis, I need to let you know that I'm going to fanboy a little bit.
All right.
I hope that you have some resilience built up.
I have thick skin.
Okay, awesome. Do you have like a default answer? I was actually wondering this. I was thinking about what do I do, you know, if someone kind of like says hello and, oh my god, we're going to get resub notifications. That might not be good. You know, when people kind of like see you at events and they want to say what's up and they want to like, you know, do you have a standard answer to you are the best commentator of all time?
Well, I mean, if they say something like that, I'm just like, oh, thanks so much, man. That's really, really kind, you know, because I guess that's their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that opinion. I agree with that opinion, so I definitely
you do agree with that opinion.
Them saying that, so
perfect.
I mean,
so your commentary is the model of what you think everyone's commentary should be.
I don't think everyone's commentary should be like mine.
Yes,
but I strive to do exactly what I think is the best in commentary.
Yes,
that's my goal, my aim.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So I don't know where I want to go with this conversation, but why are we here?
I've got time.
We're here because someone on Twitter tweeted at you, Artosis, and said, do you want to let Skrai interview you? And you said, yeah, I guess if he wants to. And I was like, oh, sick. Because actually, my co-commentator Toph, he got Tasteless to follow him somehow.
Oh, nice.
And so he's like, you know, I think with our duo, he is actually probably Artosis and I'm probably Tasteless. Unfortunately.
Oh.
I strive to be Artosis.
Well, that's good because I would get along with you better then, right?
That is actually true. That actually makes a ton of sense. So
you and me, I don't know. So.
Yeah. Well, let me give you kind of my journey through StarCraft real quick, just to frame like what's going on here. I guess just so you know, I would think that like literally my inspirations in life are like the kind of things that got me to kind of like, you know, the personality or like the perspective that I have as a commentator is like number one, The Rock, and wrestling. I watched a ton of wrestling as a kid.
That's cool. I did too, actually. The Rock was my favorite.
The Rock was your favorite?
Yeah, I liked him when he was Rocky Maivia, in fact. Like,
no, you did not.
I swear to God I did.
He was actually so lame.
I watched wrestling since I was like 8 years old or something. I loved that shit.
So lame when he was Rocky Maivia.
Yeah.
IMO.
Super lame.
And then what was the, he was like part of a faction or something?
Yeah, with like Farouk.
Yes.
And it's been so long.
It's been a long time. And then I remember I was a super Stone Cold fan, but then something happened. And I was just like, oh my god. Like, Stone Cold is really cool and badass, but The Rock is, like, the best. For whatever reason.
Yeah, he was really cool. He was a great performer, no doubt.
Yes.
And such an athlete, too. Like, he was so much... I liked him, Mankind, and, of course, Undertaker. I mean, who doesn't fucking love Undertaker?
Undertaker was sick. Undertaker was definitely sick. Okay, perfect. So that's, like, number one. And then number two, I think, like... my first introduction to esports was StarCraft 2. I don't know why. I mean, StarCraft 2 was huge when it first came out, right?
Yeah. Well, it's what like boomed the current esports generation. Like everyone that watches esports now, it's like kind of thanks to StarCraft 2. Like there was esports before, but like it was a very set number of people. So StarCraft kind of like reopened it up and paved the way for all the other games to get big.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised. I think a lot of people. Like, people that have been watching esports for many years now started on StarCraft 2. And now they're starting off every game because every game's getting so big. But,
yeah.
Like, the initial secondary boom of esports, I guess you could call it, is definitely StarCraft 2 based.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I'm trying to remember, like, what year was it when StarCraft 2 came out? Like, where was I in life?
It was 2010 in February. The beta came out, and then it was released
Okay.
in like late August, I want to say.
Yes. Okay, so then I had already graduated college, and I had already, like, been playing Smash, but we
Hmm.
hadn't, like, found our home on Twitch yet, you know what I mean? I don't think Twitch was even,
Yeah.
like, born until 2011.
Yeah, yeah. It was like Justin TV back in like
Yeah.
2009-ish. I remember
Yeah.
I did a couple things on it in live stream and Ustream and stuff. But
Yeah. But
Twitch was, I
there were
believe,
no, like, big streams on Justin TV, right? Or were there?
no, Justin TV was tiny. Like I
Yeah.
remember we were looking. I used to work for the company that's now SPO TV,
Hmm.
and we were looking into live streaming a little bit. And I think we ended up using live stream because it was like you stream live streaming Justin TV, and Justin TV was like the smallest and worst out of them.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there was like no point at that to use that.
Yeah. And so someone just mentioned GSL season one. Craig asked, yes. I think that I watched GSL season one. Was that Fruit Basket?
Fruit dealer,
Fruit dealer changing the world.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So if I watched that, I must have just watched it on the GOM player, right?
Yeah,
I just went to
yeah.
GOM.tv or whatever,
That's right. Yeah,
and I paid $40 or something.
something crazy.
Yeah.
Those were some big subscriptions. Like live streaming was, it was wild back then that we had that many watchers. I think that you could watch live for free with lower quality or something, if I recall.
Yes. Yeah, I think
But,
that
to get
sounds
the
right.
VODs for the high quality, the tickets were pretty. I mean, it was a lot of content. And when you actually
was.
map it out and compare it to like watching a shitty movie in the theater, it's totally a great deal. But
It was a great
it was a
deal.
lot considering internet and live streaming where we're at now.
All right, so it's all coming together in my mind where like we started commentating. We like so Smash was like in MLG, so like old school VODs like 2006 and before
Yeah,
had
yeah.
commentary. But then we hit this place where we just stopped. I don't know why. I guess it's because like MLG had headsets and nobody else did.
Yeah, I mean, Smash has been around forever. I actually, I don't know if you knew this, but I went to MLG Philadelphia and played Smash at it in like 2005-ish. Me and my brother actually drove down to
Wow.
Philadelphia. That was like really fun. That was such a cool scene back then.
That is so sick. That's before I entered like the competitive scene. But that is awesome.
Yeah.
I'm from Philly.
Good times. I was pretty shitty. I
Perfect.
didn't do well. My brother almost made it into the bracket stage out of his group, but
Very impressive.
Kind of bombed.
I would have
was a pretty
sucked.
shit poor Samus.
You played Samus?
Yes.
I feel like I should feel like I would think that you played Samus. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, it's well, I would just like lay bombs and shoot missiles and try to stay back in turtle. That's just like how
Sounds
I play every game.
super lame.
Yeah, the lamest you can even imagine.
I've definitely heard the legends of you played Terran in StarCraft 1 and Brood War,
Yeah.
and you were the ultra, you were like the pinnacle of lame play.
Oh yeah, no, I would turtle all game.
So
I
it's
was
like SimCity, tanks. These are the phrases
Yeah,
that I
just-
heard.
I wait for people to leave the game. I don't want to kill people. I want them to throw every fucking thing they have at me, and the map has no minerals, and they just give up. Like that's how I play everything.
Yes. When you say that, the only game that I remember watching of StarCraft 2 that even reminds me of that, and there's probably way more, was it was some PVT, right? Who was that Terran who was like always the best? And then
MVP.
yeah, it was like one of the GSL finals, and like MVP ended up winning, but like this was like game 4, and he had like 1 billion battle cruisers, and it was like, oh my god, game 4, it's over.
It was MVP versus Squirtle, I think.
Dude, Squirtle was my dude, and you know it's your fault that I love Squirtle so much because you did that analysis of like his opener, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta learn this shit.
He was a brilliant player. I miss him.
Yeah, and I remember, you know, whenever I looked at the VODs on GOM, I was like, I remember I looked at that one and it was like 30 minutes long, and I was like, okay, you know, MVP's just gonna beat his ass, and it's gonna be 20 minutes of the celebration. And I remember, like, you know, I was supposed to go to bed, and I'm getting ready to go to bed, and then, you know, every minute it's like the set kept going on, and I was like, no way, does he bring it back? And then, yeah, that set was nutty.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. A lot of people say that's their favorite GSL finals of all time.
It was awesome. But I was very, very sad that Squirrel ended up lame-o cheese.
That took balls of steel, man. Like
For sure.
I don't like the cheese. I like to see Protosses do well because I play the race nowadays. But I mean that was MVP in a nutshell right there, man. All the money on the line and everything's like, fuck it, let's do this.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know how to appreciate that. I think like until you get to like a top level, you probably don't understand like what it means to cheese. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Where it's like,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, well, especially for someone like him, right, where he's like the greatest macro player that there is, and
Yeah.
he's like, no, this is probably statistically right for me to mix this in now. He's not going to expect it. All the money's on the line, pressure's on him. I can make him fuck up right now, and
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, that is such a call right there.
yeah, yeah. That sounds right. I've been thinking a lot about that because like I think in Smash the mechanics are so powerful, and you guys probably have a super like a great understanding of like mechanical play being able to just win, right? Where Melee is so
absolutely.
technically difficult that if your mechanics are good enough, you just roll people over.
Yeah.
And so that like level of mind game. So I played both Smash and then I started playing Street Fighter 4, and I realized that there's like this deep level of mind games that comes up very early on in kind of like the skill cap. Like in Melee, I'm used to the skill cap being so huge that you don't really need to think. If you're good enough, you just push the buttons and then they die.
Yeah.
And then in Street Fighter, you can push buttons, but you can't push them fast enough to just kill someone. You actually need to like kind of position and outplay people. So yeah, I've been thinking a lot about like that kind of like mind game stuff, and you see it at the top levels.
It's super interesting because like the high skill cap, it's actually like I remember back in the day, it was literally just like Smash and StarCraft. Oh, that's a great beer right there.
All right, is it really? Because I don't like it. I don't like this.
Oh, wait,
Ballast
Grapefruit
Point.
Sculpin. I've never had that one. Okay, I've had the regular Sculpin from Ballast.
Someone brought this over. People in the chat are asking me, what beer is it? So I just showed it, and I do not like it.
It's I don't know about grapefruit and beer together, but I do like Sculpin. That's a solid beer, and it costs like $10 a can out here, so I don't get to have it very often. But
if I can send it, I would.
But yeah, yeah, thanks. I think it would be pretty explodey by the time we get here. But yeah, like the really Melee is, or just Smash Brothers in general, is the only game that requires the same type of inputs as StarCraft. Those are the two highest APM games by like miles. And there's like so much to be said about that because like the thing is people misunderstand APM action per minute like so heavily, like, oh, you're just spamming or something. It's like, okay, yeah, people can spam. I can hold down keys and get high APM. That's not what I'm talking about. The fact that these pro gamers can put in these many actions, right? Like there's absolutely games right now where the APMs are 500. They hit 500 during these things, and it's like he's using that. TY is microing in 3 places and macroing all his bases and expanding, and it's like, holy shit. And when you get games that can actually take that many inputs that can actually make a difference, that skill cap goes so far up that what you were saying like works out, where it's like, okay, you can just beat them no matter what. Like you put Maru against like 99.9999% of the players in the world, and they're just fucked.
They're just gonna fall over.
He can make any units he wants. They're just gonna die.
But it feels awesome, right? Like even just thinking about, when a game gives you that much power, it just feels so. I don't know. In Melee, we talk about it like the Matrix a lot, where it's like the way that you move is different than what people thought was possible, or kind of like how the agents just kill people.
Oh. You're giving me chills. I'm thinking about some old time shit. All right, so in Brood War, Bisu. Have you heard of Bisu before?
Yes.
Okay. Greatest Protoss of all time in StarCraft 1.
Yes.
Noni, who was the best American Protoss ever. Fantastic player, moved out here. Okay, yeah.
Who, by the way, I love, and I tried to help him move into Oakland or something. I remember because I watched State of the Game obsessively, and I just wanted to hang out. And he was like, "Hey, I'm moving to Oakland or some shit," and I tweeted him like, I can help. And then it didn't happen.
Great,
but
man. Oh, I'm sorry. He's so much fun.
That's all right.
But yeah, like he actually had this great thing that he said where he's like, if you can't move as fast as Bisu, you can't understand what he's doing. And this is like a really cool thing. And I mean, it like invites like a fucking deep ass rabbit hole about what it means to be a commentator versus a high level player and shit like that. But basically what he was saying was like, you actually can't understand what he's doing right now. Like if you're not a really fast high end player, this is almost impossible for you to comprehend that he is actually in all these different places. His screen is literally jumping all over the place, which by the way is one of the ways that we can measure skill in StarCraft, which is hilarious and awesome. But
which is how quickly you move the screen, or
how quickly the screen moves, and then you do something on that screen. That is one of the primary ways to measure how good someone is at StarCraft. If you want to use math, it's this, and it's one of these main things that StarCraft 1 coaches used to look at is like how quickly you're moving your screen and how quickly you're doing shit when you hit. Like you have to. Like, we don't really move screens with our mice ever. It has to be like a hotkey of some sort that jumps you there.
Yeah.
And then, like, how quickly can you go from jumping to a location that you weren't looking at to doing shit that location that matters? But that aside, like, the whole idea of the Matrix and whatnot, right? It's like, okay, so Bisu reinvented an entire matchup. He actually rebalanced the game because Protoss was always weak against Zerg, and he made it an even fight. Because he was so fucking fast, it was like he was in the Matrix. He was all over the place with so much shit going on that he could tear nerds apart in ways that no one ever had, and he just like revolutionized everything with that.
Yes. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm with Artosis, the king of the nerds, legendary StarCraft 1 player, right? You were like hella, you were good. Can I say you were hella good? Were you amazing?
For a white guy.
Yes. See, luckily I was in the land of Smash when I was in my prime, so I was not a foreigner. You know, the Swedes who came over to the U.S., they were the foreigners. Yes, sick nerd baller. Man who taught me what nerd chills are. You know, I had the experience. I felt the chills before, and I was like, what is this sensation? And then, you know, one day it just, you gave it a name, and I was like, oh, that's what these are. These are sick nerd chills. But I remember the thing that I thought was that I think is really funny in retrospect about you and Tasteless, and I would love to just hear a little bit more about your friendship at some point, is I remember, and I'm going to say this because I'm an honest person, and when I'm on the microphone and in front of a camera, I cannot lie. I have to let everything straight from the heart kind of just leave my mouth. I remember... That's
why you're a good commentator. There you have it.
It just comes straight from here.
Yeah.
I don't let this mess with anything.
No, fuck that.
Yes. By the way, it's also why I'm a rager. The best melee player, in my opinion. I know that you are. I know that you're a rager because I've watched your stream and I've loved every minute of it. I've loved watching you play StarCraft 2 and just being like, this guy is an idiot.
Yep. It just means you care, man. Like if you're like, I play this game out of love and passion. I get fucking angry because it hurts, and I'm like, oh my god! But you know all about that.
Yes. And I remember the first times that I watched StarCraft 2. You know, I actually didn't understand what it was like to be a commentator. So I think it's very easy to be like, oh, this person could be better, or this person could be better. Now I have a respect for like how hard it is to, like, when you commentate, you just kind of have to do your own thing. If you try to do something that's not you, you'll just suck.
Yeah.
And so like different people will resonate with different viewers, and that's just the way that the game is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I remember for the first 2 months of watching GSL, I was like, man, Artosis, like, just, I don't want to hear any of this crap. Just let Tasteless tell jokes so that I can laugh. And then I remember after the first 2 months, I was like, Tasteless, please shut up. Artosis is explaining this game to me. I don't understand what's going on. He's explaining the mechanics and, like, you know, the things that are actually important. So it was so funny to see that, like, you know, Tasteless is such a perfect, like, on-ramp. And, like, as soon as you know, there's viewers who are just watching for the first time. It's, like, super casuals. And then you get, like, slightly less casual, and then you actually start playing the game. And it's really cool to me that, you know, you guys are... It seems to me, I don't know if you actually worked on that or if you care about it or if you thought about it, but, like, that Tasteless really appealed to me when I was, like, a noob. And then you really appealed to me when I was trying to get better. And then once I learned who you guys were, like, your friendship kind of... I just felt like I was hanging out with you guys. That's actually the defining characteristic, I think, of your commentary.
Well, thank you. That just means that everything that we're trying to do is working out, because that's like kind of part of the plan, where we want to be friendly to new players. We don't want to go like too deep, but when we start going more deep, that's kind of like where I jump in a little bit more. And the overall feel that we want people to have is that we're a couple of guys where like their buddies talking about a game that they like, and we just want it to kind of be that inviting, everyone's. It's like you want to watch it with your friends that are like kind of funny and kind of know about the game.
Yes.
And that's really the aim that we have for sure.
Was there some insight, or were one of you two the genius who said like that's what we're going for, or did you just realize it?
We kind of fell into it a little bit. Like we've been commentating a really, really long time. Nick had his first gig in 2005, and I started in 2007. End of 2007, I started a little bit of commentary, and like I think just over time, we kind of realized what was working a little bit. Like I've always been deeper into games, so I like to analyze a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so that just kind of fell into my lap, and then like. He's just kind of like more social and more funny than me in a lot of ways. So
I totally hear that.
Fell into his. Yeah. And so, it started to work like that. And as we became more professional and had more experience, we just like, the thing is we talk about our commentary and other people's commentaries and everything about commentary and like how people perceive it and how we want it perceived and what we're trying to do with specific commentary and who the audience is. Like that shit that we talk about all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, this has been our full-time jobs for so long, since like 2008, right? So that's like a lot of time that we've been able to kind of like just talk and like push ideas around. And because we have like very different personalities and whatnot, that kind of helps us to ping pong shit better too. It's not like two people with the same mindset. We oftentimes have like really vastly different ideas and come somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I have this like really silly question that I want to ask, but I'm kind of afraid to ask it.
Okay, go ahead. Feel free.
Everyone who's watching and listening, if this goes on YouTube, please, I want you all to acknowledge before I ask the question that I'm having a moment where I'm hesitating to even ask it. Artosis, I need to tell you something that goes on through my mind when I watch almost anyone else commentate. So actually, a man, a myth, a legend is in the chat right now. He goes by the name Lovage. He, to me, is one of the best commentators to ever do it. So he's excluded, and my co-commentator, Toph, can do things that I can never do. And so he's excluded from this statement. But sometimes when I watch other commentators, I'm always just like, nah. Or it's like I feel like I wish that they looked at my commentary more. Do you ever feel that way? Because I honestly feel like out of watching like every StarCraft 2 commentator, they could all learn a little something from Artosis.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have watched a lot of commentary in a lot of different games, and there's definitely flaws all over the place. To be fair, like I see flaws in my own commentary all the time.
Mine too.
And I am like constantly patching shit. It's like an old tire or something where I have this little piece of rubber and I'm like gluing it on. I'm like, okay, that part's fixed. And then there's a hole over here. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm saying this phrase too much. Or, oh God, I went too deep. And, I'm always very, very critical, or self-critical. And Tasis and I are very critical of each other as well. But definitely I see that there's no like set way to learn how to commentate video games right now.
Yes.
And that makes it like kind of tough. I know like Riot has a caster school and shit. When I heard about Riot having a caster school,
okay, that sounds so lame, dude.
It does sound, and the thing is, realistically, what it is, right, is probably like, okay, here are things you say on TV. Here's how to project your voice. It probably shit like that. But when I heard they had a caster school, I'm like, you guys have millions of dollars. You didn't fucking invite Tasis to teach your classes. Like,
that is disrespectful.
That is fucking disrespectful, man. I don't care if he knows League of Legends or not. Like, this guy could teach you some shit. But I'm sure that's not actually what it is. But overall, it's like people just don't know how to commentate at all. And I definitely have watched a lot of commentary, which I end up muting or, I'd just be like, oh my God, shut up. What are you doing? This is so awkward or wrong or,
Yeah.
But, that, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with it, but yes.
Well, it's just kind of your thoughts, right? These are like an assortment of thoughts around the thing. And like, I have areas that I want to dig into. Like one that I heard is like that you and Tasteless are critical of each other. And like, for me, Toph and I kind of can do that, but I don't know if we have that like deep bond of trust. Like I know we respect each other a lot and I know that like we like each other a lot. I don't know if Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, I don't think I would take it the wrong way if he criticized me. Maybe we just haven't like flexed that muscle and we haven't worked that yet.
It's hard. Even now, we've been best friends for 8 years.
Yeah.
And good friends before that even. But it can be hard to give each other difficult criticism. You know, if someone really sucked and we have to bring it up. It happens, man.
Like, honestly, I wish that I could hear, like, can you tell me, like, the meanest shit he ever said to you? Man, you suck today.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, we try to not say it like that. Like, we bring it up kind of nice. We're like kind of skirting around the problem, you know, and he might be like, hey, buddy, how are you feeling today? And I'll be like, uh-oh. He's like, hey, man, I think you were, like, really off here. I don't think you should be talking like that or something, you know? And I'm like, fuck, you know? And it's like, dude, where was the hype in that?
Ooh,
you know?
Where was the hype? Ooh.
You know, whatever it may be, I don't have, like, a specific memory because we give each other feedback literally after every single cast. Yeah, it's just kind of normal, but, I mean, we do it because we're very ambitious. Like, it hurts sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're unhappy with the feedback and shit, but
totally.
Like, I'm not going to continue to grow if I don't have these painful moments, and neither will he. So I think it's kind of an important thing.
One of the pieces of feedback. So okay, I think both Toph and I were very much inspired by you guys. I mean, you came way before us, but also the feeling of like. I think I always felt like after watching, you know, anything that you guys did, or, you know, even just thinking about it, I felt like if I ever went to Korea, I could just like, you know, if I just fell next to you guys, we would just hang out like we were old friends. And I feel like that was something that we wanted to create. But one of the things that we always heard from, you know, kind of like people giving us feedback on Twitter or whatever was like, shut up about this story and like talk about the match. And I wonder, like, I kind of think, like, StarCraft has a natural kind of rhythm to it. And, like, you know if a cheese is coming and you can't really, like, lead into, you know, kind of the match. But do you guys ever get that? Do you care? Like, I mean, obviously you care, but, like, would you care if someone told you, like, tell less stories? Or, like, is that a fundamental part of...
We get that quite regularly, but not as regularly as positive feedback for stories. And you know, the thing is, we take everything into consideration if we end up seeing it, and we might have a chat about, like, did we tell too many stories? Did we talk too much today? And you know, specifically for like GSL, let's say, we cast differently for anything we go to. So GSL, we're like, okay, this is Code A. Way more stories. These are only hardcore fans, okay? These aren't the guys just tuning in because this is a great match. This is the guys that are here every night.
More
they
stories.
Fucking already know this build order. They already know it, right?
Yeah.
So we'd be like, all right, let's just have more fun during this one. Whereas, let's say that we're at BlizzCon, right? We're like, okay, stories only to feed the storyline of this player. Quick ones. Focus on the hype. Focus on the match.
Quick ones.
And it's stuff like that.
Do you have quick... You do not tell me that you have quick stories on lock.
No, I mean, we make everything...
It just happens, right?
Yeah, everything's organic, like...
Because, like, you can just talk with... Probably, you can just talk with Tasteless forever, right? It's what you guys do when you hang out, so you just let it exist. Yeah,
we can just talk about it. Like, we're 1 year apart in age and have had basically the same experiences in life, so we have, like... You know, we can just talk about shit easily. We have so much in common, which I think some casting duos do have a problem with, where it's like, okay, you're 7 years older than him, and, like... You don't have any of the same childhood, and you know it's like it's funny. Every now and then I'll cast with like Valdez or something. And it's a good cast, but like I'll bring up like something from my childhood, and I'm like, I'm 8 years older or something, and like it's just like totally different times, and I'm like, oh, okay, never mind, sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, the feedback, you have to be careful taking feedback from just randoms online.
Yep.
Because they don't actually necessarily know what's good or even what they want to hear. And there's a very vocal minority.
Yes.
Like, after you've casted long enough, I find that the majority are just happy and just never say anything. And sometimes you do something great and they'll say something, or you do something terrible and they'll say something. But overall, the people that are just, like, chiming in, it's just like a hater. And, like, go look at what the hater says to you, right? On, like, Like I was looking at Reddit the other day, and this guy kept popping up in every post saying I was shit, and I was like, what is it? Click on his name, like, oh, this is just who he is. Okay, like,
Yeah.
I need to not take that too deeply. So, that's I kind of like rely more on people that I know and respect the opinion of.
Yes.
As far as how I'm doing, rather than internet comments, but I do take them into consideration for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that, so it's awesome to hear you say that. That's kind of how I hope that I've taken feedback, where I try to consider everything. I mean, even sometimes I've had these experiences where somebody is like, "Hey, Scar, literally shut the fuck up, like you're an idiot," and I've just asked, like I've sent like a tweet back where it's like, sorry that that I hurt your tournament experience. Like, can you be more specific about what you're actually talking about? And some of those kind of conversations have actually been good, believe it or not. Like, people who are belligerent can even sometimes have good feedback. Most of the time they don't, but sometimes they do.
They can. The thing is, there's so many people watching this shit, and
Yes.
so many people willing to give feedback,
Yes.
that if I get one that's rude like that, I just insta block. That's it. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, you're gone forever. Bye.
That's totally an approach.
You're gonna, yeah. I don't need to read negative shit about myself on the internet. No human needs that. We didn't evolve to read negative fucking comments about
It is
ourselves.
definitely
It's a
not in
terrible
our
thing.
not in our DNA.
And every single one of those people that sends you one of those comments, I swear to God, you meet them in real life, you're just like, why was I ever upset? Why was I ever upset? This guy is a fucking loser. He's really upset at himself, and he's trying to take it out on me. And this is really sad. And buddy, I hope that you get better. You can pat him on the back and, like, go work on yourself some, because you're taking out a lot of anger on me that's not justified.
Yes, I mean, that definitely happens. Some gamer nerds are angry. That is just a fact. We've been marginalized for a long time as a group.
So true. So true.
And what else did I want to ask you about? It was actually slightly important. It was along these lines. It was about getting feedback. Oh, and I've heard from people who I do trust that, like, perhaps I've taken too much feedback from, like, and it's kind of like dulled the, because each person, I feel like, you look at the baseball cards or whatever, where you have the stats, or like the, it's like the pentagon, and sometimes you're like really strong here but weak here. But that's because you're naturally good at this one attribute.
Yeah.
And if you try to grow this one, you kind of dull whatever your unique perspective is, or your like superpower, right? So that's a tough balance, I think, to find growth without losing your edge.
Yeah, you should always try to improve all over the place and get better, but you have to keep what is like uniquely your own, and like what makes you good. You have to, like, I always find one of the main things I say if I'm going to cast with someone who hasn't casted with me, and sometimes these are like newer casters are a little bit nervous. They're going to cast with Artosis and shit, and it's like, oh God, what do you want to do? And I'm like, just let's have fun. Just be yourself and let's have fun, and it'll be a great cast. And like, and whenever I meet a new caster, like a new caster who's out to Korea, or a new caster's getting a big gig for the first time, I really tell them, I'm like, don't you fucking go on Reddit. Don't you go on Reddit during this tournament. Don't you do that.
Don't even look.
Because, don't even look. Like, don't look when you get home either, but especially don't look here. And they never fucking listen, and it fucks with their brain, and they start to change their cast. And
totally.
It's like, you got to try to be yourself and do your own thing here.
Totally. And I mean, you obviously know. Yes, I totally agree. And listen to this guy. Everyone listening, that is excellent advice. And it's really hard, because you want to see the feedback. You want to see what people have to say. But did that happen? So I feel like I am better at getting negative feedback because of playing the game. Where it's like, if somebody says you suck, it's one of those things where it's like you can just prove it, because the game will tell you if you're good or not. That's the thing about commentary. Yeah. There's no windscreen, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. The game tells you.
In a lot of ways, like, that's a very annoying thing for commentators, because, like, as a pro or something, you're just like, well, no, I am good. Look at this. I won a tournament, or look at my ladder rank or something. I'm really good, and that's that. But as a commentator, you kind of have to, like, believe in yourself. I guess your scorecard develops over time, and, like, if you can keep your confidence up and stuff, you can just kind of, like, self-grade yourself and see where you're standing. But I guess it's more subjective. Is that, I always get subjective and objective mixed up. But.
You're totally right.
Right,
subjective is opinion. Objective is like a thing.
Yeah. You can't just it's hard to definitively rank where you are as far as a caster or exactly what your stats are, but yeah, that's like one difficulty, especially back when there was like a bunch of like weird drama between players and casters and who was getting paid what in the beginning of StarCraft 2, and I was just like, God, guys, we're all competing together too. This is, there's a lot of hard things about being a caster. But yeah, it's not all just fun and games or easy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, pay is this whole other like world, right? Where we could talk about that forever. Where for Melee, like we were just getting used to like people having money, where 90% of the tournaments are like still grassroots, and now we're just starting to see different groups that actually have some amount of money pop up, and they're like offering to pay casters, but and there's this contingent of casters, especially Twitch has like hired a bunch of people who are in the Melee community, so that's like cool, and we kind of like have talked about it, and there's like an opinion that we should like not go to things unless the tournament pays, mostly because like that will encourage the scene to grow, but like really will it? Like might they just pay the top people and then
yeah, like it gets tough. Like I think both sides of the opinion are all right. Like people shouldn't be working for free forever, but like Melee is still a smaller scene as far as the money goes, which is fine. It's just like this is a natural thing. Like I mean, I did StarCraft nonstop and didn't actually make any real money until 2011. So that was
this is after you moved
12 years. Oh yeah, when I first moved to Korea, man, when I very first got to Korea, I got like $400 a month or something. It was like, ooh, it was tough. But like, you have to like put in the love and the time and the effort, and that's what builds the scene. Like, especially with one of these older games, like StarCraft was released in like 1998 or 99. I had to do that forever for no money and like do everything and work jobs through the year to pay my tickets to places.
Oh
and
no,
that's a natural thing. And if you look, like every game is small at first and then gets big. And if you look at all the games that money's just thrown into, so far they've all failed, right? As esports, World of Tanks isn't that big of an esport.
No.
How much fucking money was thrown at that? Like, what about all these weird little iPad games and iPhone games? Are those real esports that are getting big? Not really. Like, League of Legends was tiny for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, Dota was fucking ignored. It was a use map settings game for a long time. StarCraft was ignored for a long time. Counter-Strike has been big for a pretty long time, but it was small at its beginning. So that's just kind of like the way of things, and it's more important to build the scene and build the community than for a couple people to get paid, probably. Yeah, shit will sort itself out eventually. Like, we were all working for free or very cheap for a very long time, and then eventually it hit a point where money came into the picture, and that was great. Now we can pay our bills and
it is
have
great.
Families and lives.
What is StarCraft like your main thing now? Has it come back? And was it not at some point? I'm assuming it wasn't. I think that like when Hearthstone came out, you're a sick nerd baller.
Well, StarCraft has always been my main thing. It will always be my main thing. But I got a lot of press for Hearthstone when it came out after winning BlizzCon, and then I did well at a bunch of tournaments and flew around casting a bunch because there was like this huge hype behind it. No one actually, by the way, thought Hearthstone was going to be anything when it got announced. But
I definitely didn't.
The second that I saw it announced, I'm like, oh, this is going to be huge. This is going to be so awesome. Because I was actually a Magic the Gathering player before StarCraft. Ooh. Like, I did tournaments of that. And I was super competitive. And, like, my entire understanding of RTS is built off the back of my understanding of Magic. Because I was, like, basically, like, semi-pro level at Magic.
Yeah.
And like, so I had like a really super deep understanding. I understood a lot of strategical concepts, and I brought them in, and sometimes I even referenced them in cast sometimes because they were so well explained in Magic. But so Hearthstone was just kind of like me revisiting Magic. I had actually been playing Magic online just for fun at my house.
Yeah.
Anyways, and then they announced Hearthstone. I'm like, perfect. This is going to be taken as an esport, obviously. It's on the computer, it's Blizzard. It's going to be so accessible and so much cheaper than playing Magic online drafts all day. Oh, those are fucking crazy expensive. But yeah, I mean, I liked it a lot, and I played it a lot, and I still like Hearthstone. It's just not as big a deal for me as it doesn't have the same type of depth or beauty that StarCraft has, and it has a lot of those. It's a super skill game. It's beautiful. It's deep, but I mean StarCraft.
No, I totally hear you. I mean, when I played, I actually fell in love with Street Fighter 4. I got deep into it towards the end of the game's lifespan. Which, by the way, I have never seen a game die so quickly. Like, they took, after Capcom, what was it, Capcom Cup? They took that game out behind the shed and shot it. Like, yeah. I went to a local tournament, basically the week before and the week after. It was 1 week apart, and it went from, 60 people to, 5. It was so depressing.
Yeah. I think that's something, especially with, the series of games where there's so many, now there's Street Fighter 5, right?
Yeah.
As soon as the next one comes out, everything's gone out of the old one.
Yep.
Brood War hung on a little bit because it was so old.
Yeah.
And it's enough different that both can exist. Because you guys have 2 Smash games that are actually doing all right?
Yeah, but I think Melee has become this kind of standalone where they haven't tried to redo it, kind of, right? They took Brawl in a different direction, and now Brawl and Smash 4, when Smash 4 came out, Brawl just died, right? Because the whole community moved on.
Yeah, so see, that's for instance, if StarCraft 3 were to come out right now, let's say StarCraft 3 came out next year.
Yeah.
Brood War would still exist.
Yes.
That would still keep going. StarCraft 2 would die completely.
Yes.
StarCraft 3 would game. And
yes.
That's just kind of the way it is. StarCraft 1 is this weird thing that's always going to be there because it's so fantastic. StarCraft 2 is fantastic, but that player base and that working base and everything will move on to StarCraft 3 if that were to come out.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally hear that. I think that rings true for our community. We totally get it. I'm seeing in the chat some people are saying that low key, Brood War is making a tiny baby comeback. Is this a fact?
Yeah. Brood War is making a comeback right now in Korea.
Why?
And I think it can make a comeback in the West as well because, it kind of got force killed when all the Kespa teams switched over to StarCraft 2. And a bunch of the big names quit because they did not want to play StarCraft 2. Some of them tried StarCraft 2 for a while, had some success, and quit and went back to Brood War.
Yeah.
But Brood War still has a bunch of fans, and it has storylines that literally nothing else has. The fact that I can go watch fucking July Zerg play StarCraft 1 at the Afrika studio. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Is there anything like this in the whole fucking world? No, there's not. Their stories. Flash is going to play in the next Star League.
Yeah.
What? This is the greatest video game player of all time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The greatest of all time. There's no one like Flash, and so. Yeah, it is definitely making some resurgence. Freaka TV is doing a lot to help them out, and I think it can actually grow heavily again in the West as well because it's different enough that I love both games. I will watch both games. I will play both games, and they are different, and they are both fucking awesome.
So let me tell you, as a casual, I am not afraid of the future casuals for Melee. For them coming in and being oh, this game's ugly, because I think that the game actually, the graphics-wise, is, beautiful. It's, timeless.
Yeah.
I don't fucking understand what's going on in Brood War, dude. I don't get what's going on. Zealots look like they're just fucking, pixels, or, Rise... In StarCraft 2, they look so sick. They say things. Yeah. They're going to sacrifice their life for the planet that's dead.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. And then in StarCraft 1, they're just
It's definitely different, older, slower graphics and a different pace of play and whatnot. I think that, I guess some of the main things about StarCraft 1 that are big selling points. One, the length that the game has been around, the fact that it hasn't been patched since 2001, and it's still perfectly balanced.
Yes.
There's just
no. But wait, that's the sickest thing. I get nerd chills when I think about this thing, where it's you said that. Bissu, right? Rebalance the game.
Yeah.
And it's a game that hasn't been patched forever. And Melee similarly came out, 2001. Never patched. And it's reached this place just where it has a crazy balance that comes out of eras of characters dominating. But at the end of the day, the skill cap is so huge that, it just kind of works out.
Anything can change. Yeah. This is why these games are so fucking good. And
yes. We patched it.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is. I wish that, like, for instance, the StarCraft 2 community would shut the fuck up sometimes because they complain about balance all the time. But StarCraft 2 has such a ridiculous skill cap. No patch occurred, and last night we had Zergs beating Protosses on Pro League. Like, look, new shit is coming out. People are rebalancing it just by playing and getting used to old styles. Like, Zergs, when Legacy of Void came out, lost to Adepts every game. The Adept wasn't changed against Zerg. Nothing changed. It was only patched against Terra, not against Zerg.
Yeah.
They no longer lose that shit. It's just, there's like this ongoing thing when the skill cap is high enough, and this is part of the reason why these games are so good and can live on for so long. It's not like, and the thing is, I like, for instance, I really like Heroes of the Storm. I think it's a really good game.
Yeah.
I think Dota 2 is a really good game. I don't really care for League, but look, you have to rebalance that shit quite often with these heroes and stuff, and it's like, there's not quite the same thing there that there is with these other games where it's like, you already know everything that's going to be in the game before you start. It's like, okay, there's 3 races. Yeah. I already know every unit and what they can all do, but the players are going to change the way that this is played just by doing new shit well.
You know, I fucking hate when there's too many characters in a game and like too much random stuff that you need to know. I can't take that.
Yeah, that gets really crazy, man. Like,
it feels
when
like
I learned to cast Heroes of the Storm, the fucking amount of talents I had to learn. Every player has 4 talents on fucking like 8 levels or something. And it's like, oh my god, like, oh my, that's so crazy. It's like,
and like,
so
if you
much,
lose, it's like you lost because you didn't know some stupid detail. It's like, if we did it again, I would just win because I'm better than you. You just happen to pick something that like I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is part of the reason, and this I know for a fact. Like, StarCraft, like RTS games and fighting games, are the best spectator esports. They aren't the biggest. No, I know that. I know that, guys. Okay, yeah, Hearthstone's huge. League is huge.
Yep.
And these are big team games, or RNG is in the game. Shit where you can blame your opponent so more people play. This is what it comes down to, because if you play a game like Melee or you play a game like Brood War, you're going to get fucking smashed by people. And you're going to be like, I don't even know. He's faster and smarter. Like, what do I do? It's like, well, you don't do anything. You get better. But they're better spectator games. It's like, it's not hard to understand. People are mining to get money, to build armies, to hit into each other. Or here are 2 characters on the screen. They're going to try to kill each other by jumping around and kicking and shit. Like, those are the spectator games that like should be driving esports forward. But right now there's so much monetization going into shit, and it's all like, okay, let's sell these skins and let's sell these heroes, and everyone's playing this game because it's like super, good for new fans to come in, play with their friends together in this team co-op. And if you lose at Hearthstone, you can kind of pretend that you could be a legendary player even though you're not, because you're fucking stuck at rank 8, like, but you can, there's like ways to trick and deceive yourself, whereas the great truths are brought to you via these 1v1 esports, where it's just like, well, I guess you're not as good as him. I don't know.
I think there is definitely a beauty in 1v1. I don't know why the team thing is so big. Like, I haven't really stopped to think about it, but it just seems like the team esports are like, they just have a larger audience. It could be because more people play them, right? And if more people play them,
definitely. Like, I think that's probably the number one thing, because if you look at like stats, like if you look at like the play number to watch number, like Leagues is much more proportionate than like StarCraft's. Like, no one plays fucking StarCraft. The game is so hard. Like,
it's a hard and it's lonely. If I could give the people at Blizzard one piece of feedback, I tried my hardest to get good at StarCraft. I have never felt more alone and depressed in my entire life than when I was trying to get good at StarCraft 2.
You have to have a really, like, work hard mentality, and, like, you have to really suck up your ego and stuff to legitimately get good at StarCraft. And there's, like, multiplayer modes that you can play and stuff, but that's not the full beauty of the game. The full beauty of the game is really testing what can you do as a human versus this other human, and who can do it better. And I think it's hard, man.
At least with Melee, you're next to another human being, right? And if they're beating your ass and you're like really feeling down on yourself, like you can look over at them and they might not, you know what I mean? There's a chance that they're not looking at you like, you actually suck, and they have something nice to say. But yeah, man. And then I remember for StarCraft, it's also like so stats based, where there were so many great tools they could tell you, like, you're not building enough like probes. You're like missing your pylons or whatever, and like here's like your collection rate or whatever, and like you have to. And then there were like tools that like showed you your what is it, like your MMR, and it's like I would look at the line go up, and then you lose somebody, and it like plummets, and it's like, oh my god, and then you put more pressure on yourself, and it's like, oh, I'll be playing this game forever.
Yeah, and let me tell you, that's a fact. I have been playing this game for fucking ever.
Yeah.
Okay, I've played this game more, like, a lot of people probably watching this are not as old. Like, I was playing StarCraft competitively before you were born, perhaps, guy in the chat. Like, this is... And I still play, and I mean, I keep a good level, but Maru, who is fucking, like... He was, like, 3 when I started to play or something? He was, like, 3 when I was winning tournaments.
Yeah.
I cannot fucking beat him if you put a gun in my head. It's not going to happen.
What's the deal with the magical kids who have like nutty tech skill, crazy mechanics? Like, where do they come from?
Well, I think that's just playing games younger.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they keep finding all these things where like the brain just learns so well younger. Like my daughter, for instance, is 4 years old right now. I've lived here for 8 years. Her Korean's better than mine.
Okay, yeah.
Like I've lived here twice as long as she's been alive. She's only been able to speak for like a year and a half or something, or 2 years, whatever. And her Korean's already better. If you're young and you start young, like, right, StarCraft came out when I was like 15 or 16 or something like that. And so it's like, yeah, I mean, I still learned well and played well. But when you have someone like Maru that is playing when he's 12 and plays his first tournament when he's 13, I'm like, well, he's just going to learn so well, right?
Yeah.
It seems like that's the future, these like kids that are starting so early, especially with some of these kids that you fucking look at a YouTube video and there's like a 4-year-old playing on a Nintendo, and I'm like, ooh, you're going to be like so good at games. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. That reminds me of the Matrix. It's like they always have that little thing in their brain. Just like all the data in the world is just going right into their brain.
Yeah.
Sick. How's Tasteless doing?
He's good. Yeah, he's doing really good. Having a good time out in Korea. He's focusing really heavily on StarCraft, and he's really enjoying it. Yeah.
What does that mean for him to focus on StarCraft? Does he play?
Yeah, he plays. He plays, I would say he plays more StarCraft 1 than StarCraft 2, really. That's really, like, he just loves StarCraft 1 to death and still loves playing it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I mean, he's, like, what I mean by focusing is we've done a ton of games. Like, we've both probably casted, like, 20 different games total. Yeah. A lot of people have just never seen because it's been small streams and shitty games and whatever. But this year, he's just kind of pulled out of everything. He's casted just one Heroes event, maybe one Hearthstone, I can't remember. But, like, basically, he's just focusing on casting one title right now.
Yeah.
Which is...
That must be so hard to cast other games. I mean, I remember seeing Tasteless at, it was, like, some like, group of people were trying to get a, like, Street Fighter 4 kind of, like, thing together, right? Like, Tasteless would just be there and kind of like be an MC. Do you know what I'm talking about? They would fly out like at 6 players.
Fight night.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really hard to cast multiple titles. Like, for instance, if I cast StarCraft 1 and 2, that's not hard because I've already done it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Hearthstone, it wasn't hard for me to cast that in StarCraft because StarCraft is my main game and I knew Magic Gathering, so it was like pretty easy. But like, when I had to learn Heroes of the Storm, having never played a MOBA, that was so fucking hard to balance both games. It's like impossible. I can't watch all the VODs for both. No. I can't. Shit suffers no matter what. And I think like 2 games is basically the maximum a human can do and still do a good job. Because I've done like the 3-game thing for a little bit, and it's like, no, I literally can't even remember anything.
Totally. I have always had a theory that like human beings can dedicate their time to like 2.5 things. That's it. If you try to do 3 things, you're going to suck at one of them, or you're going to not be happy with how good you are at one of them.
That sounds about right. Like there's so much shit I want to do. Like, you know, I have a complete family. There's like multiple games I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, I want to get in like really great shape and be healthy and stuff. I want to learn Korean.
Dude.
I want to do so many things, and I just don't have the time. I can't do it. I have to focus on like one or two things, and that's about it. And like I get asked all the time, for instance, like, "Oh, how's your Korean? Are you fluent?" Because I've been over here forever. And there was a time where I was pretty good at Korean. I was like learning it really well. I had a tutor a couple times a week and had a lot of Korean friends. But my priorities have shifted. I've had a child. I still want to be good at StarCraft. I've been casting multiple games. So no, my Korean right now fucking sucks because I don't have any time to study it. Where would I fit that into my day?
Yeah.
Nowhere.
No, I totally hear you.
There's literally no time left.
I totally hear you. And I wonder like where that. I think that's probably just where it comes when you put so much of yourself into a couple of things that you want to do more, but you just don't have the time. And so we learned before we started the stream, because I'm very bad at starting live streams, that we're both delegators. I'm very well known for being an infamous delegator, where I have a social media manager, for example, because people always used to say in the chat, like, you need to tweet this out. And I'm always like, I don't want to, like, no. So, I have this excellent human being who goes by the name Luna, who does like the Twitter and like post things to Reddit. He's like the man. But it's so important. Man. I've cut everything down to just Twitter at this point because I can't manage like my wife takes all my Instagram pictures for me. My Facebook I just don't really touch. That's an amazing idea.
Like, yeah, see that. Well,
I can ask Sophie. Right? I can ask Sophie to do
taking pictures, man. Totally.
She's really good at it. She has like cameras and stuff.
Yeah, my wife too. See, my phone. Like the same person.
My phone's broken. I'm actually waiting for HTC to send me a phone. I was in they do these short ads, like these spots. I was cast as the actual HTC 10 phone. So in this ad, I am the phone. My face is on it, and the voice is me. And I have an iPhone in my pocket.
Oh, man.
That just feels wrong.
And they're doing esports shit, too. They need to get with it.
Why do I have an iPhone? I want an HTC. Screen's broke. Anyway.
It's fucked up, man. Guys, go tweet it. Go tweet at HTC Esports. It's a real Twitter account, all right? Let them know.
It is a real Twitter account. I know the person who manages it. They know that I'm not pleased. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to ask my wife as soon as she gets home, hey, how do you feel about taking Instagram photos for me?
Yeah.
Can you just have my account?
Photos. Just like photos of my dog and a nice sunset and like a flower or some shit, like a good piece of food. I don't know.
10 out of 10.
I still read it and look at it.
I never would take a picture of any of those things, but I've experienced them.
Yeah.
I'd love to share them.
Pictures of shit.
No.
Fuck technology, man. I just want to play my video games and fucking, read books in the forest. That's it.
Yes. So, okay, there's one thing that I do really want to ask you about, and it comes from a place of I don't want to say depression, but I found out that my wife was pregnant in February. And what I said to her, and what I said, thank you so much. What I said to her and what I said to the good people of Super Smash Bros. Melee is, I'm making my comeback as a player. I'm done with everything else, right? My wife I will give her my attention. I'm gonna be there for her because going through pregnancy is tough. But I'm gonna dedicate so much time to coming back as a player. And the truth is, I did it for 2 weeks and I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Have you had I know that you from listening to your commentary, I've heard that you want to come back as a player at some point. When the time is right. Yeah. Do you still have that in you? And
I still absolutely have the wish and the want inside of me. It's really tough as you get older. People say that you get slower. It's not. Fuck that. Okay, and people are like, oh, here's a scientific thing. Your brain reacts a millisecond slower. It's listen, I have so much more experience than even fucking Maru in RTS. Okay, yeah. There's other things that I have that can make up for these things, but you no longer can really put in 100% of your time. It's so I am trying so hard to be really good at StarCraft right now. I'm practicing every single day. I'm really going through my losses. I'm kind of being a guinea pig for myself in a lot of ways, trying different ways to raise my skill up. And I'm hitting GMs on the Korean server. I'm pretty solid, but I have a baby and a wife and a job, and it's no one has ever been able to do something like that. And it's yeah, I don't know. I think it's like possibly a doable thing for someone at some point, but yeah, I mean, as you said, you tried really hardcore for a couple weeks, and eventually you're like, right, it becomes a little bit overwhelming. You're like, I have so much shit to do.
Yeah,
Like, I have car payments, or like, I have to pay my rent, and like I have all this work
yeah,
coming up, and
yeah,
it's very tough. But I mean, for me personally, I still have the wish and the desire, and I'm trying to keep my form as well as I can at the moment. But my life is super full of shit I got to do.
yeah.
So, I mean, the want will probably never go away. I would imagine I will probably never give up trying to be really good at StarCraft. It's just that, I guess, part of me, but will I
Yeah.
ever succeed is the
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, and you just have to live with that want. When you brought up exercise, it just went right into my heart. I have
Yeah.
this like beautiful rowing machine in my garage that just collects dust. All I would need
Yeah.
to do is sit there, and rowing I think is actually amazing because it's like a little bit of cardio and like mostly full body, and I can watch TV while doing it because you're supposed to just look
Yeah.
straight forward.
Yeah.
And it's like actually wonderful to do, but I actually recently, I don't know what happened. Actually, I think what happened was kind of all the worlds and the stars aligned, and like my work directly. So I work at Twitch, right? And I have this opportunity to do something that will like help esports and like help esports grow and like kind of change esports on Twitch. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
like. At some point, I realized that I could potentially do that, and I like stopped thinking about the game entirely and stopped streaming. I
Yeah.
realized that
Yeah.
even of those 2.5 things, that's almost not true where there's one thing that's really your main thing that like
Yeah.
when you're going to bed and when you wake up, it's the first thing that you think about.
Yeah.
And
No,
for the first
I
time in my life, it wasn't Melee.
And it's kind of like a sad moment. I've definitely had that happen to me a lot, where
It is a
it's
sad
like, okay, I
moment,
have
yeah.
all these ideas right now in esports. Like, I'm always like working on a bunch of shit. Like, I have stacks of notebooks, and I use like Evernote, and I have like just fucking like I'm always like thinking and working on like the overall idea,
Yeah.
which makes it extra hard to do anything else. It's like, well, I could go out and do my jog right now, but I'm kind of in the middle of this sick like writing session, to try to, get this another article on ESPN to get more people to see what StarCraft is and how beautiful it is, or like, just kind of various things like that, where like I'm trying to say I totally know what you mean with the trying to help esports. There's like this deep thing where I'm like, okay, this has changed my life so much for the positive. I had like this childhood that I really didn't dig. It was like shitty. I lived in New Hampshire. That was so fucking boring. No one there was like me at all. And like just the thought of like Korean esports, I'm like, I gotta get there. This is like, I like went through depression stuff as a kid, and like it was the kind of the driving force that kept me going and like motivated me to practice for tournaments. And I was like, I'm gonna do something that I really like and I really care about, and this is like a competitive outlet for me. When I was a young kid, I wanted to be in the NBA. That was like one of my big
Nice.
goals. Turns out I'm 6'1". I guess and I have small hands. I guess I probably wouldn't have never made it.
Oh my God, you're not in America. Do you know what's going on in American politics? You just said you had small hands, and my head just it just went in this crazy direction.
Yeah, I'm not too much like the Donald, but yeah, I mean, it's just like I want to help esports go forward. I want to help more people see it. I want to, because I think that this is like in the future going to be like this very positive thing for people that were more like me. Like I was very closeted. I get, there was definitely years in my school career I got made fun of for being a nerd or
Totally.
I didn't really have a lot of friends. I sat at lunch alone and shit. It was like really depressing and sad, and like just kind of was like socially awkward for a long time in the beginning of my life. And esports is something that kind of pulled me through, but esports didn't even really exist. It was kind of like the dream of esports. And now that esports is becoming real, I'm like, how many kids that could be helped that are like that are like dreading going to school in the morning because they don't have friends, they don't get along with anyone because they're just like weird or something. And that like So that definitely, like, that drive to do something else, even though I still have like passion and fire to do things like just for my own self, become a great StarCraft player once again. Like, that other side of it tears me away from it a lot of the time, and there's always like a battle inside of me, like, oh, do I practice right now, or do I, do I work on the overarching concept of esports?
Yes.
That type of thing.
I think that for the good of everyone, I totally agree with. There's like the thing that drives me and that helped me personally, but then like the overall esports thing. Right now, I'm in the esports camp. I'll be back though.
Yeah, you never really go away. Like,
no, I can't. It's in my
sometimes
blood.
there's 2 months. Yeah, there'll be 2 months where I don't play StarCraft. I come back and it's the most painful fucking couple weeks trying to get back to anything reasonable, but it happens, man. I get too busy with other shit that's going on, and I'm sure that'll happen plenty of times throughout my life. But I will always, there's like a video of me saying I'll probably play StarCraft when I'm 50 from 2005, and like I'm totally on track for that, man. 17 more years, no fucking problem. I will still be playing StarCraft.
Artosis, I wish that I could just keep this stream going for the rest of my life.
I know, right? This is fun.
I am blown away by how approachable you've been. Just random Twitter. Here we are in this beautiful appear.in, which is so much better than Skype and everything else.
Skype. God, Skype.
Spread the word. Spread the word. This app is sick. But unfortunately, I have to do a different thing. I want to thank you personally for everything that you've done. State of the Game, I think, is the reason why I started doing my podcast. I modeled something totally after State of the Game, followed meta, and I think the fact that I saw you start things and you were always trying things, and sometimes they fell apart, but you never stopped trying to do things. And I think that's awesome. I read SD2 Dojo.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I still put shit up on there.
I think I might give StarCraft 2 another shot. I don't know.
It's up to you, man. You're a busy guy. You're gonna have a kid. You have fucking esports, Smash.
Can I play StarCraft with a kid on my lap? Will that work?
If
have you tried
really
this?
Small at it doesn't work that well. She presses buttons, tries to grab the mouse. What's that, Dada? What's that? It's a Zergling. It looks like a puppy.
Sick.
Doesn't work that well, to be honest.
All right. Well, that idea's gone. Rip.
Sorry.
But yes, thank you so much. Thank you for everything you do. Keep it up. And what's the next big thing for you?
Oh,
is there more
GSL
GSL?
Starts on Wednesday, so that's definitely the next big thing. So that's like 3 days from now, 6:30 p.m. KST on Wednesday. Make sure you tune in. The first group has Zest in it. It's a group of death. Gonna be sick.
Nice. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of the weekend. It's Sunday for you, right? Sunday morning?
It is Sunday morning.
Do you guys, are you going to celebrate the 4th?
Oh, shit, that's right. That's tomorrow.
It's like a thing.
No, not really.
The thing we do
I
here.
haven't lived in America in a long time, but probably not.
Cool.
What would I do? I don't even eat meat. I can't even put meat on the grill.
I was going to ask you about vegetarianism and how much that must suck.
Oh, it's the fucking worst thing in Korea, man.
I've heard that you eat rice and some... There's one more thing that has protein.
Like tofu. Don't do it in Korea.
I won't. I'm trying to do it in America. It's hard here too, man.
Oh, well, I mean, that's easy mode. If you ever come to Korea, you're just going to be like, oh, my wife was actually a vegetarian for 7 years, moved to Korea and just started eating meat because it's like, no.
Wow. But you kept it up.
It's just so hard. Yeah, I'm really stubborn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love animals.
Didn't know that about you. All right, man. Thank you one more time.
Fun.
It has been fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. If you ever want to talk again, maybe I'll hit you up in a couple months after GSL's over.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Artosis.
See you later, man.
Peace out. And thank you to all of the viewers who've been tuning in. Now you can't see me. This is on purpose. This is a picture of my dog. I have to join a different thing, which I'm about to... Oh, shit. Wait. Oh.
If you smell what the rock is cooking.